All right, we're gonna go ahead and get this clutch and mount it on the engine. So I have to change out this flywheel, which the guy that I bought the transmission from, he gave me his old flywheel, so that's great. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. This will be a good opportunity as well to see if that rear main seal is leaking from when I replaced it. So we'll get after it. Okay, so I ran into a few issues here. Since this is a dual disc clutch, this flywheel is shaped slightly different. These teeth are actually a little deeper, so I didn't realize this when I was putting it on the first time. It was hitting the starter. I noticed that the starter on this one has a spacer in it, so I'm going to still try to use that spacer and my cover here, being that I've already got it all cleaned up. The other issue that I ran into is that these bolts are for this flywheel, and this flywheel had separate bolts. They were smaller, the heads were also smaller, so fortunately I have a lathe. So this is the bolt that I kind of redid. You can see that I took off just a little bit of the head so it can recess below this lip. When I had the clutch on there and I was sliding it back and forth, you could actually feel it grabbing the top of the head because it was sticking out too far. So I wanted to mill down just enough to where I could keep these washers, and also the bolts were too long. So these bolts were actually bottoming out in the cast iron block, so I had to shorten them up. So here's the differences. There's one that I shortened up, and there's the other one. So barely anything, but enough to make a difference. So I need to cut all the bolts the same way, and we'll try this again. All right, I finally got all the bolts cut. I went ahead and made sure they all threaded. So this is the shorter bolt. You can see I surfaced all of them. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all these in here, set the clutch on there, push against it, make sure nothing rubs, but third time's a charm. All right, so we're back out here in the shop this morning. Just an update, everything went pretty smooth. I went ahead and put the starter back on there with the spacer. Everything looks like it's lining up properly now. So I'm gonna start putting the rest of the clutch on, and I'm gonna take my time and just try to make sure that I get everything correct and line it up. I bought the clutch alignment tool. It's like $6 or something like that off of eBay. So it is plastic, but yeah, I think it'll work. It's a pretty hard plastic, but we're gonna get to work here and see if we can get this clutch on here and maybe the transmission mounted today. All right, I'm getting the clutch plate and everything cleaned up, getting all the oil and grease off of everything, getting everything situated the way I want, make sure it's aligned properly. I'm also going through and tightening up these bolts in a specific pattern and making sure that they're torqued down to spec. All right, I think we're finally ready to attach the transmission to the engine over here. I'm just gonna use my jack and I'm gonna try to just balance it and roll it over there so I can line it up pretty good. Let me take this tool alignment out. So we should be good to go. I feel pretty good with the clutch and how all that went. I have this piece on right here. So I think we're ready to put her on there. I'll put a little bit of anti-seize right here just in case. but let's get to work. Those who have replaced a transmission before or actually took them out probably knows that this is kind of a pain in the butt. There's probably easier ways around it. I know that they actually make stands and jacks specifically for transmissions. I'm just using a normal floor jack here, but it took me quite a while to get everything lined up so it would go in freely. It helped out that I used the output shaft there to turn it, the splines to get them lined up, and finally got it to seat. All right, I finally have a transmission mounted to an engine. That took a little bit. It has to be lined up just about perfect, but it helped out that I was able to put this in gear and turn that to line up the splines, but finally got it. I'm gonna start preparing the truck. I have a few more things to do, and then maybe we'll set this engine in there today. That's exciting.
We're working on getting this situated so we can get it over there to the truck frame. Let's see how this goes. I'll set up a time lapse.
So here we are, we're actually hooking up to the engine, making sure everything's balanced correctly, but I guess I wasn't thinking here. I needed to actually hook up this engine 90 degrees from where it is picked up now. That way that I could bring it in through the garage door on the other side and set it right into the frame. So once I get it out here and realize what I've done, I move the pallet, get everything lined up, situate it, pick it up the way that I was supposed to.
Yeah. It's gotta go up. It's hard to tell here, but he's putting in the bolts and getting everything ready to fasten it to the truck frame when we get it over there. The engine is in, and I'm just amazed. Like, how does he do this? Never done this before. And look, and you can see, I didn't do a good job recording or explaining this, but this is what he was cutting earlier to make that fit. Gosh, let me do like a full circle here so you can see everything, because man, it looks nice. It looks new. You can see where the transmission extends back here. And that's where it's mounted on like that on both sides.
Yeah, that went a lot better than I thought. So it was a lot smoother. I think because we hit the cab off, obviously it made this so much easier, but nothing crazy happened. These motor mounts actually fit, which I was a little bit skeptical about them, but yeah, everything went pretty good.
Great, so what's next, babe?
Well, I got to fab up a transmission mount, and I want to level off this engine. I think it's got to be like 3 or 4 degrees tilted back, so.
Okay, cool.
A little bit of an update. It's a day later, or 2 days later, since we've mounted the engine here on the frame. So right now I'm waiting on the output yoke for the transmission here to be able to hook up to my driveline, which the driveline is going to have to be trimmed. I wasn't sure if it was going to or not. I still need to bolt in this cross member here for the transmission mount, but I'm not going to do all that just yet because I really want to get the drive line cut before I make everything all that permanent, just in case I have to move things in and out.